Joining me now to talk about all this and more, my great friend John Ratcliffe, former Director of National Intelligence and former Texas Congressman. John, welcome back. I just want to let you hear the latest sound from Biden spokesman John Kirby. Please take a listen.
We have made the JCPOA a priority, and negotiations, quite frankly, are essentially complete. There's a deal on the table that would bring Iran back into compliance. It's just up to Iran now to take that deal.
So, John Ratcliffe, it's a terrific idea, right? It's going to bring Iran into compliance. I'll call it immaculate compliance, for heaven's sakes. No verification, no inspections, and by the way, an economic windfall as the Trump sanctions are lifted and they start pumping oil and they get back their foreign exchange reserves and they get back the lost money from prior sanction losses and so forth. First up, John Ratcliffe, what do you make of this? The Iran deal is on the table and all they have to do is say yes? Like we don't have any say in it, it's just up to them?
Well, Larry, I hope for the sake of our national security, I'm going to be able to come on your show sometime and say, you know, hey, this is a great foreign policy win or accomplishment by the Biden administration. But today's not that day. Look, this was not a good trip to Saudi Arabia. He didn't accomplish any of his goals. More Saudi oil production, no. Some sort of accountability or apology from MBS for the Khashoggi murder? No. Improving relations with Saudi Arabia or Israel as partners to counter hegemonic and rising Iran? No. And this approach to the Iranian nuclear deal really underscores, you know, the failures of the Biden administration in this regard and the message that he is sending. Look, who benefits more from a nuclear weapon-free Iran than Israel? And the answer is nobody. And yet Israel characterizes this as catastrophic. So do the Saudis. So our partners and allies in the Middle East that we count on the most, are simply not there. And Joe Biden, has really no interest in accommodating them.
Mr. Kirby says this treaty will bring Iran into compliance. John Ratcliffe, is there any one single scintilla iota of evidence that this will bring Iran into compliance?
I've lost him in his.
Oh, sorry. I'll repeat with pleasure. Mr. Kirby has said that this treaty will bring Iran into compliance. And my question to you is, if you can hear me now, is there any evidence, I'll say any evidence in the past, that Iran was ever brought into compliance? Is there one iota, one scintilla? I mean, have they done anything but lie, cheat, and steal down through the years with these so-called deals? Well, I think we lost John Ratcliffe. All right, so we have lost him. I'm going to, at the risk of asking a question and answering it, I'm going to say the answer is no. The answer is there is no evidence of that. During the Obama years, when the first deal was made, Iran cheated, enriched uranium, developed as many weapons as possible. The Revolutionary Guards went on rampages throughout the Middle East, financing terrorists like Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis. Did we get him back? Not yet. So I just want to finish this thought, please. The point that I'm making is twofold. Number one, the Iranian deal makes no sense at all from a national security standpoint. It will probably embolden Iran and will certainly make Iran economically richer, probably to the tune of as much as $1 trillion when they recoup their lost money from economic sanctions during the Trump years, from central bank assets, their own central bank assets, and other assets that have been frozen. Wait, I think we might have John Ratcliffe back. So, John, I'll take another whack at it. Is there any evidence that Iran has ever observed any of these treaties down through the years? Because Kirby is saying they're going to be brought into compliance. I'm just saying, looked at the past, this is not a new subject. Is there any evidence that Iran will comply with this deal?
No. You know, Larry, from sitting in the Situation Room with me, the reason that the Trump administration withdrew from the first JCPOA was very clearly that Iran was cheating on that deal from the very beginning. They were operating nuclear sites that the IAEA was not aware of. So, you know, the idea that that Iran is trustworthy and we should re-enter a deal that they cheated on the first time makes absolutely no sense. And I think the bigger issue, Larry, is setting aside the issues of Joe Biden personally, looking at and his weakness and frailty on the world stage and his ability to conduct these meetings is the approach that his administration is taking, and it is one of unreliability. It's almost schizophrenic in deciding who our allies and partners are going to be and who our adversaries are. The Biden administration has spent the first 18 months of this administration courting Iran, trying to engage in this Iranian nuclear deal. And when it's on the cusp of not happening, they turn to the Israelis and the Saudis and say, no, you were our first choice all along. We need to work together to counter this hegemonic Iran. And there's just a disingenuous there that I know from talking with my former Israeli counterparts, that they know that if the Iranians pick up the phone and say, we'll take this deal, that the Israelis and Saudis are going to be holding an empty bag of Biden promises.
John Ratcliffe, I don't know if Iran's going to accept the deal or not. I guess I hope they don't. The Senate should have advice and consent on this, but they're going to try. I guess the Bidens are going to try to be like the Obamas and not go to the Senate. But, John, perhaps more to the point, realistically, defense against Iran's nuclear enrichment, and they're going to buy ballistic missiles to send weapons up. Isn't it Saudi Arabia and Israel working together, or in effect, Saudi Arabia and the Abraham Accords with Israel? Isn't that going to be the only real restraint on Iran, not the Biden administration and not this deal?
Well, of course. And Larry, who benefits more from a nuclear weapons-free Iran than Israel and Saudi Arabia? And yet, what are they telling you about this deal? They're saying it would be catastrophic. They're telling the Biden administration, run, don't walk away from it. These are our important strategic partners in the Middle East, and they're telling us don't do this. And yet the Biden administration wants to proceed to make a deal with a terrorist state by giving them a blank check that will, as you said at the top of your show, Larry, will only engender and enable their ability to further engage in military technologies that they'll use against Israel and Saudi Arabia, and if allowed, ultimately the United States and our other allies.
John, in your judgment, in your considered judgment, based on your experience as DNI and also House member in the intel field, is the Bidens having trouble distinguishing their friends of the United States from the enemies of the United States? Has that been a problem? Does that continue to be a problem?
It's not only a problem, it's recognized by both allies and adversaries around the world. They're unreliable. They're almost schizophrenic in their approach. Again, who is our ally in the Middle East? It's been Israel. Although a problematic ally, the Saudis are an important one to counter a hegemonic Iran. And yet, again, the first 18 months, the Biden administration has focused on cutting a deal with Iran. And so, this is the approach that I think has really engendered a reputation that the United States is unreliable as a security partner. And that's one of the reasons that Joe Biden is not delivering on these deals when he's traveling abroad and meeting with foreign diplomats. It's more than just the fact that he's not projecting strength and that he's weak and that he's engaging in a series of embarrassing gaffes or mistakes. It's that his administration, no one knows what they stand for or who they stand with.
In the last 30 seconds, there's one more. It's the stuff of another segment, John. I hope you'll come back for it. But in Latin America, which is on our doorstep, right, they're having the same problem. And the last real friend of the United States, the last democracy friend of the United States, is Brazil and President Bolsonaro. And the Bidens have given him the back of their hand from day one.
Absolutely. And, good relationships that we engendered, throughout the Trump administration are going away because they don't see the Biden administration as a reliable partner for those security relationships that are so important. We could go around the globe, Larry, and identify countries. We could go through the Indo-Pacific. It's all the same. And, you know, again, the real question for the Biden administration is, what do they stand for? What do they believe in? What are they trying to accomplish? You know, you might not have liked Donald Trump's tweets, but it was always America first. It was predictable and it was reliable. And that worked to our advantage with both allies and adversaries.
Former Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, thank you, sir. And we will see you very, very soon.